Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Speedrun Insider. Thank you so much for joining us each and every week. Thank you everyone for downloading the podcast, for watching on YouTube, and listening on all of your favorite podcast players. We really appreciate it. The support's been great. I promised you last week we had another great guest. I always deliver on my promises. And we always try and get fresh perspectives. And I say this, I've been saying this a lot recently, and I'm going to keep saying it. If we want the conversation on the podcast to be motivated by what the best conversations to be had are, I think the best thing that we can do for that is for you guys to keep sharing the podcast, keep telling your friends, keep doing all the things that you've been doing. Just keep doing what you're doing. Because as long as we keep doing that and the numbers keep going up, the conversations on the podcast will be about what the best conversation is and not which conversations are going to be better for the algorithms or the analytics or any of that stuff. So let's just keep having great conversations. You guys keep doing your part. I promise I'll keep doing mine. In the spirit of that, we have a new guest today. She's brand new in the speedrun circuit. She's chock full of hot takes. And most importantly, she's the best new speedrunner you're not watching. She is the one and only Hot Takes by Soph. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you? That was a wonderful introduction. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. So you prefer Soph? I'm not going to call you Hot Takes by Soph for an hour. Sophie, what are we doing here?
Either is fine. Yeah, my name's Sophie, but Soph works too. I've got hundreds of nicknames.
Well, there you go. You can stick with CJ. It's not CJitsallGewd, as they read it out on GDQ.
Oh my gosh.
It was pretty rough. It was pretty rough to be me that day, especially because I donated a not insignificant amount of money. But
yeah, I was going to say they usually name the people who donate a huge chunk or a really random number, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, they completely butchered my name too. They added a 1 in there. They were like, they totally didn't get it. They thought it was CJitsallGewd. It was awful.
Oh
it was just not good.
So actually, when I started on Twitch and I would show up in people's chats, I didn't have my name capitalized, like the HT, And so I would go in chat and someone said, "What's up, hotcakes? I've gotten hotcakes." I got Hataki. Someone thought that my name was like maybe a Japanese word or something. I've gotten some really interesting play on words with my name, so I'm pretty used to that too. And then someone was like, you could just add capital letters. I was like,
This is very true. I will say, you and I are holding it down for the people that have multiple words in their name.
Mm-hmm.
Like, come on. Like, it's hard. It's rough out here in these streets. I envy anybody that has a unilateral, like, succinct handle that is just one word or, like, 2 words, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, I'm going to shout him out because he's a good friend of mine. He's a new good friend of mine. His name is Crunchy Brown. Perfect username. Crunchy Brown, right? Everyone can read that. Like, you can chant that in an arena.
Yeah, or cheese or simply. Simple.
Yeah, exactly. Like, even like puncation is like a word, right? It's not 4 words, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, but then it's like CJ, it's all good. It's like, it's a cool name, but it's not CJ.
It's actually funny you say that because I remember when I just joined Twitch and I was making friends in chat, they were like, you should probably pick a 2-syllable name because it's easier and you're more likely to get viewers, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, I like my name, so no.
Yeah, exactly. Like, listen, it's not about the billboard.
Exactly.
Like, what are we doing? All right. Well, I'm glad that you chose your name as Hot Takes by Soph. We're going to get into some of your hot takes. I'm expecting them to be spicy, warm, fresh out the oven. But I want to go back a little bit before you get to your hot take career as a hot take artist.
Mm-hmm.
And let's go back to little kid Sophie. What games did you grow up playing?
Yeah, so for me, I grew up with 2 older siblings, and my oldest sister was 7 years older than me. So even when I was super young, I was already seeing them play video games. And so my first console was actually the N64. A lot of my friends that are my age aren't really familiar with the Nintendo 64, surprisingly, because it technically came out before I was born. And then I had an N64, a PS2, and then now I have like a Switch. And those are my 3 main consoles of choice. When I was a kid, I would say Mario was top 3 for sure. I literally remember when I was like 6 being in that secret. There's one star not in Jolly Roger Bay, but in the same room. It's like the secret star on the wall.
Yeah.
I remember swimming around there when I was like 6. It's a weird, those random distinct memories that you have.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. I can still like feel myself sitting, looking at the CRT on the beanbag, playing that game. And then I would say a lot of N64 games, Star Fox. On the PS2, my favorite one's Okami, and they just remastered it for the Switch, and it's beautiful. So 10 out of 10 would recommend. And then I'm very into, I don't know if they would be called party games, but just Guitar Hero. Love Guitar Hero. I have Guitar Hero 1, 2, 3, Rocks the 80s, and Van Halen. And then I also really like DDR. So those are the top games in my collection.
Interesting. So you said this, and now I have to ask the follow-up. You said that most people your age don't know about the N64. How old are you?
Okay, let me rephrase that. So I'm 22.
Okay, that's a little better.
People know of it, but like when I was growing up, my friends didn't play it. If that makes sense.
Okay. It was like last year's console kind of thing, right?
It was more like the new console was the GameCube when I was really young, and then once my friends were able to actually, when you're 5 or 6 and you're trying to play a video game, you are entirely incapable of actually succeeding, and you get frustrated after the first level and then quit.
Right.
So when I was 5 or 6, that would mean, when did the N64 come out? Like 95, 96, right?
The N64?
Or earlier?
Around there. Yeah, I think so.
So by the time I was 6, then it would have been like over 10 years old.
Yeah, that's
as a
wild.
console. Yeah. So
that's one way to put it. I guess I didn't have that perspective because I was born before it.
And I think another really big factor about that is growing up. I mean, I wouldn't say that it's a normal, I don't want to perpetuate the stereotype, but a lot of my girlfriends growing up didn't really play very many video games. So if they did, it was when they were like 12 or older, and it would be like Wii Fit, or Wii Sports. The Wii was kind of the game of choice, the console of choice when I was.
Yeah, the Wii broke everything. The Wii almost wasn't a video game console. It was some other thing because of the motion controls.
Exactly.
It kind of transcended the medium a little bit. I always wanted to ask this question. I'm going to ask you this question. It's been in the back pocket for a while.
Okay.
All right. So I remember growing up, and on I'd watch Nickelodeon or the Disney Channel or Cartoon Network or whatever, wherever they showed cartoons, right? It was little kid. I remember seeing all of these shovelware games, like Barbie and the Seven Mermaids, or Barbie's Dude Ranch, right? Or Polly Pocket Diaries 2, or whatever. I don't know. All these games that look like they were made in a day, and they're for all these consoles. And I'm and all the time, in every interview I've ever done, and I would say it's probably half guys and half gals at this point, right? And I would say, and that's just in this podcasting venture, not all-time interviews. I've never met a single person that ever played those games, ever. That would ever talk about playing those games. I've never met one person that admitted it. Have you ever met anyone that played those games? Did you play those games?
Okay, are you talking about the games like that were on cartoonnetwork.com?
No, I'm talking like they would be advertised on the channel, so it'd be like a commercial for Barbie for the Game Boy.
Oh, absolutely not. I'm sorry. I cannot imagine a single person looking at that advertisement and saying, yes, I'm going to go buy that game. Absolutely not. I played like the Flash games on cartoonnetwork.com or nick.com or all of those. I remember there was one like Lilo and Stitch sandwich stacker one.
I
one was
played that
legendary.
a lot too. I did, yes.
That is like the best.
It was like Experiment 625. You had to make sandwiches for him or something.
Yes, that's the exact game I was talking about. There was some Sweet Life of Zack and Cody ones, but no, I did buy some obscured games back in the day. I had this one on the Wii called Pets Dogs 2. And I thought it was going to be like Nintendogs when I bought it, so I was really excited. And it had this really dark story mode. And I don't even remember what happened. It's in like a deep part of my brain, but I just remember being really confused why it was so sad and dark of a story. I thought it was just supposed to be like you take care of a dog. But so I've had my fair share of weird games.
Yeah, for sure. I've definitely played bad games, and but I always thought it was interesting. Like I've never met anyone that actually they made them by the boatload.
Mm-hmm.
They made 100 of those damn Barbie games. They made all these games. I'm like, who bought them?
I would say that, especially with specific dolls, like I remember growing up American Girl dolls. If anything American Girl doll related came out, the girls that had one would buy it no matter what. It didn't matter what it was. So I'm curious, maybe there was like a specific niche group of people that were just so obsessed with, how people collect Beanie Babies. Maybe it's something like with Barbie, everyone just, if you loved Barbie, you had to buy all the games. You had to watch all the movies. I'm hoping that's what it is.
I think that your hypothesis that there's a contingent of people out there that just have compulsively bought every Barbie video game.
I hope not for their sake, but, everyone can spend their money the way they want to spend it. So, as long as it's safe.
So I think this would be an interesting transition. Talk to me about how you got into, like, how did you discover speedrunning, and how did you make that first step? I know it's relatively recently, if not like the last 6 months by the date that we're recording this, but how did you get started?
So for me, I have an issue where I played the same 5 games over and over and over again. I have several games, and I stick to the same 5, basically. Mario was one of those. So I played the crap out of Mario. I've definitely gotten 120 stars multiple times, but that's not really that impressive. But you know what I mean. And Okami, that other game I was telling you about, I've beaten that game over 20 times easily. I've done 100%. So when you play a game that often, it kind of just comes naturally that you try to beat it as fast as possible. But I didn't know anything about speedrunning until the first time that I ever witnessed speedrunning, if you will. My older sister was watching AGDQ, and the game's done quick, and I had never heard of GDQ before, and it was a cheese speedrun. I think it was 120 star, and I was so incredibly mesmerized because this game has kicked my ass. And like I couldn't control the camera. Like I couldn't control the camera as a kid. It took me so long to beat the game. Granted, I started playing when I was like 5 or 6, but it took me so long. And just to see someone finesse the levels in such a way that I was just jaw dropped. I could not understand what was happening. And so I was like, holy shit, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And so my sister could clearly tell that I was very excited. And so she was like, oh, let me pull up some videos on YouTube of 16 star. And that's the first time that I saw like the MIPS clip where you take the bunny and stick them through the door, and the BLJs, the backwards long jumps up the stairs. That was so incredible to me. Like, my brain did not understand how you could break through the endless stairs. And so I literally rushed to my console and I watched videos and I attempted it for so long. And I remember, like, on my first phone that had video capabilities, I have a video of me backwards long jumping up the stairs, just to show that I did it. And I sent it to my sister and I was so proud of myself. So I didn't really start speedrunning then, but I had learned the MIPS clip and I had learned the BLJs, which are two pretty important aspects of the 16-star run. So I'm glad that I already had those already down. And I remember I didn't really start actually timing myself until college. And I wasn't on Twitch. I wasn't on speedrun.com or any of that. I just literally took out my iPhone, clicked the timer, and went. And I feel like I got less than an hour, and I was really impressed with myself. And so that's kind of where it started. And then what really actually made me do Twitch and actually practice speedrunning on a more competitive level, if you will. And I use the term speedrunning lightly. I would call myself a speed walker because I'm not good.
No, you're a speedrunner. Come on, don't do that.
I mean, compared to where I used to be, I'm much faster. But yeah, so COVID obviously happened, right. And I was working from home and kind of just stuck at home all the time. And I was really bored, and I think a lot of people were and are really bored. And so this was kind of my time to actually play video games. You know, I've always played video games a couple hours a week or a little bit more, but I always got really involved in school and extracurriculars and all that stuff. And so I wouldn't have that much time to really dig deep into a game. And then I was hanging out with my sister again, and she was watching Twitch on her TV. And I was like, oh, this is really cool. I really like watching Mario. And so I just joined, and I didn't start streaming. That wasn't the first thing I did when I started Twitch. I didn't think I was going to stream, actually. And then I joined a couple of different small streamers and just started messaging people and told them, hey, I'm interested in speedrunning. And people followed me. And to this day, Ruffles and Classic Hanky, they're two of my closest friends on Twitch now, and they followed me before they even saw me or saw me do speedruns. They were just like, oh, you're gonna do awesome. Mario? Yeah, they were just like, oh, you're gonna do Mario? Cool, I'll hit you with a follow. And then the first stream, they were both there chatting and saying hi, and it's really cool. The community of Mario, it's huge, and there's so many new runners as well, but it's definitely overwhelming at first. But yeah, that's kind of how all of that happened. I think COVID was definitely the biggest reason why I got onto Twitch in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, hey, listen, if anything positive come out of COVID, let it be known, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. You know, we mentioned something that I want to get into. I want to talk to you about. It's something that I've really been vocal about. And so I'm hoping this will be an interesting conversation. But, you know, there's so many people out there that one of the things that I think is really important for speedrunning is for it to be accessible.
Mm-hmm.
And that a lot of times we don't make it as easy to just pick up and speedrun as it could be. And there's legitimate reasons for that, and there's not legitimate reasons for that, in my opinion. But one of the things that I think about is the cost of there is a real cost to getting started.
Exactly.
You alluded to that in the beginning. I kind of wanted to let you talk about that a little bit.
Of course. So there is definitely a barrier of entry to speedrunning, and there's a barrier to entry of streaming. And I kind of was hit in the face with both of them. So especially within Mario, you have the console runners and you have the emulator runners. And I'm sure that you're aware of this, and most people listening are aware of this too. But there's definitely, I'm very new to Twitch, but I have noticed that there's a divide between the two. The console runners are given more respect, or there's more focus on console than emulator.
Specifically for SM64, 100%. Like that is like it's an in general thing, but the SM64 community in particular is like historically a little, I don't want to say toxic, a little anti-emulator, we'll say.
Yeah, and it's funny because the emulator side has their argument. They're like, why would I pay extra for lag? And then there's the console, and they're like, well, it's meant to be played on the console, all of that. And I'm sure everyone's very aware. I don't really have an opinion. For me, I started on console because I had an N64 that I bought, that my family bought 20 years ago at a yard sale. I had the cartridge. Right. So in my mind, I was like, okay, I have the game, easy. But I was so wrong. So wrong. So
you sweet summer child.
If you would have walked up to me when I just started and said, hey, here are all of the things that you are going to have to buy to be a good console runner, I would have absolutely said, no, goodbye. I am not doing that. That is way too much. So, for example, I'll just talk about the speedrunning cost first. So,
right.
With Mario, it's pretty hard to practice if you want to get even close to world record or even sub 20, just on the console, like on the actual game.
We're talking
itself.
About for 16 star.
For 16 star, honestly, for most.
Well, you said sub 20, so I just wanted
Yes, for 16 star sub 20. Sorry, I'm very 16 star minded because that's the only category that I run.
That's okay. We're just clarifying.
But yes, so to actually get good, if you will, you should get an EverDrive. And the EverDrive is made by some Ukrainian company, and the website was a little sketch, but it's like, when it's not on sale, it's about $130. Thankfully, I got mine on sale. But you buy the EverDrive, and then to upload the game into the EverDrive, you got to buy an SD card, an SD card reader, if you don't have those already. Then once you have that, you're like, okay, I'm good to go. Oh wait, I need an expansion pack for my N64, which is this like red cartridge that goes inside of the actual console itself, and that now is $50 because it's old tech and no one makes it anymore. And then so now I'm practicing. I'm like, okay, I'm good, no one's gonna bother me anymore. And then they're like, oh, you play on a original controller? What are you doing? You need a HoriPad Mini, which is like a $80 controller online. So there's that aspect of it, and then there's the streaming aspect of it. So when I started streaming, I owned a Mac. It might be part of the whole basic white girl thing to own a Mac, but that's the computer that I had. And I had like an old call center style headset. So that's what I was streaming on. And I would literally just have my Streamlabs open and my timer open, and my CPU would be about 50%. So I would have streams that were constantly crashing or dropping frames or lagging, and almost every single time I streamed, I'd have to restart at some point. And then, so everyone's like, oh, you need a good mic. Because my mic sounded horrible. Like every time I laughed, it would sound like I was blowing out your ears, basically. And so they were like, okay, here's a good mic, the Blue Yeti Nano, and that's $100. And then they're like, oh, you can't have a Mac. Don't stream on a Mac. And then you got to buy a PC.
Mm-hmm.
And then, oh, you have a PC. It doesn't have a built-in camera. Duh. You need a webcam and a monitor. And so, oh, and then like you need a capture card. Of course. How could I forget the capture card? The wires. And so I would say that there's both a barrier of entry to the game itself, and if you want to be like, if you want your stream to look nice.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the stream thing, you know, for sure is difficult when you're trying to, like, for me too, this was a big thing. I was like, I'm trying to find motivation to like keep streaming, because when you're streaming to an empty room, that's a rough gig. When nobody shows up, that's a rough gig. I don't care if you've been doing it for a long time, you haven't been doing it a long time. If you're streaming and nobody's there, you feel like super small. Like you just are like, man. But then I realized, like, if my stream, like I have a certain like level of quality I kind of want to see on stream. And if I'm not seeing it, I'm kind of like, well, okay, well, I'm not going to watch this person. Which is the same level of quality that I didn't have, right?
Exactly.
So it's like you got to upgrade it. But the speedrunning stuff, for sure. I mean, there are some people that it's like, oh, well, I don't have the controller. For some games, like, I remember this conversation was really hit me when we were talking about, this might have been before you came to the speedrunning scene, but when they really discovered the Ocarina of Time stuff, like the whole, like, ACE, like just like inputting your own, like inputting like a payload and like executing like code in the game and just like beating Ocarina of Time in like 3 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
They had to make notches in the controller, and I was like, now you gotta have a controller that you carve notches in with a jackknife. Like, I was just like, gosh, guys, why?
Yeah, I've seen people take apart their N64 controller, clean it, make it all nice, and I'm just like, I can use my crusty controller for now.
And a lot of SM64 people also buy a Hori controller, because it's better for the Bowser fights. It's just like, yeah, that adds up. I mean, I play to give a different, because SM64 is one of the biggest games, but to give a different perspective, I play Pokemon Snap. And
fun.
I love that game. And I played that game a lot when I was a kid, so I got into the speedrun scene and made some of my best friends are in that community. Shout out to all you guys. And then also shout out to New Snap. Let's go.
I know, I'm excited.
We can gush about it in a second.
Okay.
So that game, you have to buy, you don't have to, but it's like you're losing 30 to 40 seconds if you don't, or 20 to 30 seconds if you don't buy the Japanese version of the game. So it's like, okay, I got to get a different version of the game. But if you don't want to cut the tabs out of your N64 or take the little like things off, you have to put the US, you have to get a separate game and screw the US back on so that you can get past the DRM, right? Like it's not DRM. You can get past like the pirating thing, the region lock thing. Because otherwise it won't go in. Right, you get it halfway and it doesn't go down. Yeah. So annoying.
I remember I went to a retro gaming store when I just started speedrunning, and I came in asking about a Game Shark because that's what someone had recommended to me at one point. And he started going off about that, how the different consoles have different tabs on the inside based on the region, and I was just staring at him like I had no idea what the fuck this guy was talking about. Yeah. Oh my gosh! But now I know what you're talking about because I've been here long enough.
I got to say, there's so many people that like they just go off on this tangent. I'm like, this doesn't help anybody do anything. Like this little rant that guy went on didn't help him sell a Game Shark.
Yeah, and I also think it's just like I had no idea. I had just started running. I started in September of 2020, and so I was so fresh and new, and I had no idea. It sounded like he was speaking another language. So yeah, it did not help the sell.
Man could have sold all of his Game Sharks and gone home.
True.
But yeah, I'm super excited for new Snap. I'm
yes.
Big hype. It's gonna be a fun game.
I hope I saw some of the trailers and it looked really cool. And I mean I know the graphics will be just a little bit better, you know.
Just a little bit. I mean, you know, the N64 version is timeless. Also, we're getting over 200 new Pokemon instead of Pokemon Snap, which has 63. Doesn't even have a full.
It doesn't have a whole generation. Yeah, interesting. I never even realized that. I played that game very casually as a kid. It kind of reminds me Pokemon Snap and then Hey You Pikachu. They bring back the same memories to me. But I still have the cartridge for Hey You Pikachu, but I don't have the mic. And I'm pretty sure you can't play without the mic, so that was really sad.
Hey You Pikachu without the mic is just kind of Pikachu.
Yeah. You can stare at Pikachu on the screen.
Pikachu just hangs out. I don't know how you beat that game. I know that there's an ending where Pikachu like leaves you, but I've never.
Oh my gosh, that's a sad ending.
Yeah, it's like a sad ending to a game, like kind of like your pet dog's thing.
Oh no, yeah. Oh, that was so morbid. I'm gonna look up the game after this and send it to you just so that you can see what I'm talking about. But it was really weird.
Right. Yeah. So we talk a little bit about like the barrier to entry. Oh, you know what? There was one more thing I wanted to say. There is definitely a thing to be said about like speedrunning has a way of like keeping some people out, and nobody will like. Okay, I feel like it's become infinitely more inclusive than it ever has been, but it's still not perfect, right? But one of the things that really strikes me is that like we did a video for Luigi's Mansion for Speed Docs, and one of the people in the video just couldn't afford the Japanese version of the game or a Japanese Wii, but he still wanted to play the game, so they started loading from a USB stick, which saved a lot of time over running the game on a disc, on a disc and a Japanese Wii, and or a Japanese GameCube, as it were. And ultimately, he found out more or less that it saved way more than like 2 seconds or something. But he pretended that it didn't. That he didn't know that.
No.
Yeah, and it ended up being this whole thing, and then he accused them. But ultimately, I felt like it came down to like he just really couldn't afford the game. Like he wanted to keep playing it, he wanted to keep speedrunning it, he had a hobby that he enjoyed, and it's like no, it's like the cost of doing business kept him from this hobby, which I think is dumb in hindsight, because on both parts, because like he could have kept playing and just not been a world record holder and just done it for fun, which is what I probably would have done. But also on the community side, where it's like, okay, you know, they did allow it for a long time, but then it kind of it flared out in sort of an ugly way. I don't think the video really conveyed that, but it was not nice. So I just, you know, I'd like think about that. Like it'd be great if there were like, I don't know, there are categories for beginners. It's like we should have a way to include people that just can't afford $1,000 from the jump, you know?
Yeah, and I would say in terms of Super Mario 64, the emulator would be that version, the more affordable, but still you have to have a computer that can process, like has a processing speed that's fast enough to play that game and also stream if you want to stream it. But I think that's a hard one, right? Because if you're getting time save playing it on a different version, if you will, because it's technically a different version if you're...
Oh yeah, it's a different version for sure.
And so to me, I would think that the happy solution would be you would make a new category, or like, you know how you can click console or emulator on speedrun.com. Like you could have this version, and then the USB version or something. And then that can be its own category.
A lot of games, I think SM64 might be the exception, but they don't list emulator as like a tab. You can choose whether to show or hide emulator runs by default.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so like for something like I used to speedrun Mario Party. That game has a ton of lag. I used to speedrun Mario Party. Excuse me, I used to speedrun Mario Party 3. That game has so much lag. I mean, the mini games are borked. Everything's like in slow motion if there's more than one thing on screen.
Oh my god.
And the emulator version has no lag. It has zero lag. So it's like, okay, well, the emulator time saves over an hour.
Holy shoot, that's insane.
So it's like, it's not worth having a separate, what's the word? It's not really worth having like a separate, like category for it, because it's like, okay, yeah, everyone would play emulator, but like, it's like so off. It doesn't play the game accurately. But I agree with what you're saying. It's like, have a separate way to like have a separate place to put the run.
Yeah, and actually, did you know I am a world record holder on speedrun.com?
Ooh, tell me more. What's your world record?
So, oh my god, it's embarrassing.
What's your garbage game?
It's called Snood.
What?
Yeah, you heard me. It's called Snood. It's one of those games where it's like a puzzle game, and you aim the cannon at the balls, and if you hit a group of 3 or more, then they pop kind of game. You know what I'm talking about? I don't know exactly like the technical name for it.
Sure.
But so my friend Classic Hinky, he is also a Snood world record holder because he made his own category. And so he was like, Sophie, you have to do this. Don't you want to hold a world record? I was like, hell yeah, I do. And so he was playing it on Steam, and I was playing it on, it's like an app on the App Store. The story makes sense for what we were talking about. So I worked my ass off to beat like his PB, and there were a couple other people on the leaderboard. There's probably like 15 total or something. And so I finally beat his score, and I submitted it, and I was like, hey, I played this game on my iPhone. I hope that's okay. And then the mod messaged me and was like, oh, we'll just make a new tab. And so even though I wasn't the world record holder in the game, I was on a separate tab for mobile, and now I'm the number one and only score for Snood child mode.
You have a 15-second world record. That's amazing.
Yes, I mean, you can watch the video on speedrun.com. Pretty impressive.
I already have.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's SNOOD. Very interesting name. Very interesting game. It looks kind of creepy, honestly. The faces are really creepy. It
doesn't look like a fun game.
No, it's quite boring, actually. But I know for a fact that I will never world record in Mario because everyone knows that it's like the most competitive speedrunning game of all time. But I wanted to say, I'm a world record holder too.
Yeah.
Now,
listen, every single person, whether they'll admit it or not, has garbage games in their closet.
Oh, I'll admit it every day.
Exactly. When this game came out, it was called Inertial Drift. It just came out right around the time you started speedrunning. And it's a racing game. It's on Steam, and it's on Xbox, it's on PlayStation, and it's on the Switch. Mm-hmm. And it's a twin stick drifting game, so it's like a racing game.
Okay.
And I made the leaderboard. And then
Nice.
I was like, I'm gonna put a run up for every category. So while the community was me and my friend, shout out to Dayman. That's his username. And shout out to Dayman. But me and him made the Discord. They have a way better community now. They have like an IL community that they mainly use. Actually, one last person I'm going to shout out, Sean A, prominent inertial drift speedrunner, just had his run at AGDQ 2021.
Hey,
Shout out to
nice.
Sean. Really, really great. I've verified like almost all of his runs. He's really just terrific at the game. And so I then went and proceeded to get every world record because nobody had ever submitted a time, even though I'm racing in the game, in the in-game leaderboard. I can tell that I'm not the fastest time. So I got my fair share of world records.
Okay, nice.
The day
I'm sad. Oh, I was gonna say I'm sad because I worked so hard because I thought I was competing against the PC version of the game, and so I submitted it. I could have submitted like a 3-minute score, and I would have
you
been
wouldn't have
world
been proud
record.
of that. You wouldn't have been proud of that. Come on.
True, yeah. I feel like I cheated myself out of like just playing the game one time. I spent like 3 days of kind of low-key grinding on that game just to do that. And another embarrassing world record that I have, I guess it's not a world record anymore. I was a very avid player of Webkins growing up, and
Where is this story going?
all of their mini games had a high score of the day, and it would show the Webkins that got the high score of the day. Like, it was a global thing. And so it changed every day, so it's not that impressive at all. But there was one game at the very bottom of the list called Bullseye Batter. And it was basically a baseball game, and you just had to time the swing correctly. And I had the high score of the day back in middle school. So that was a champion moment for me as well.
I love that story.
I was really proud of myself.
I'm proud of you. I really am.
Thank you.
The only other world record I had was Super Mario Party. Right when it came out, I did all boards normal, and then I defended it. I beat a few pretty decent runners. I beat I was able to defend it and improve the time against like 360 Chrism, who's like super good at Mario Party and all the other games that I don't play. I think he did like SM64 randomizer for a long time.
Oh, okay, nice.
Have you thought about doing the randomizer? That'd be kind of a fun excursion into Mario.
So for me, I'm very loyal to 16 star, just classic, but I might venture out one day. And I told everyone that I would, when I got sub 19, I would do 70 star, but I haven't really thought about randomizers.
Yeah, no problem. I thought it was a cool idea.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think I'm not totally closed off to the idea, but honestly, I just have never seriously considered it. If that makes sense.
You do already have the EverDrive, so
I do. That's true. Make it very easy.
Super easy. There we go.
All right. Thank you, though. I'll actually once I run out of PBs in me, then I can try that out.
What is your current time? This will age really well. This will age like milk.
Oh my god. It's 23:39.
That's faster than I can beat the game.
Really?
I can't play Super Mario 64.
Oh, okay.
I'm awful. I'm awful. Like, you were talking like, oh, they move with such finesse, and it's like they're just getting all the stars and everything. It's like crazy. And I'm like, yeah, I have stupid fingers. There's no way that I could get anything similar to that. All the games I run are like racing games or like Mario friggin' Snap.
Mario Party, Pokemon Snap. Nice.
Yeah, like none of them are like movement heavy, so like you already got an edge on me there. So I just, man, like that, anyone that takes that game seriously and like really tries, I have nothing but respect. Like, Yeah, there's a billion SM64 speedrunners,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of people that's the only game that they'll ever speedrun, and that's totally fine. Like, whatever you want to do. But I'm not one of them.
Yeah.
I am, that game is hard. And,
It's frustrating as heck too. Like it's hard because I told myself when I got into this, I love Mario. I love him with all of my heart. And I will not betray him, you know? I don't care how mad I get at the game. It is never Mario's fault. It is my fault. You know? It is that sounds so ridiculous, but like
it's a zen attitude for it, you know?
Yeah, I try. It's actually funny whenever there's a couple of commands in other people's chats where if you say my name, it says positive vibes only in all caps. So I really try, especially, I think it's also because I'm new. I see a lot of people get pretty down in the dumps about Mario. It's really easy because it's frustrating. It's an unforgiving game, and there's virtually no RNG. Like there's a couple of different spots where there's a little bit of RNG that comes into play, especially for 16 star. So it's a really unforgiving run, and I've seen so many people like have green splits all the way into the final level bits, Bowser in the sky, and then just totally die, and then just be sad for days, you know. And so I really try to keep the same attitude that I've kept like when I played the game casually. Like this is fun and I'm enjoying it, and I don't ever want it to get to the point where I'm not enjoying it.
Yeah, I 100% understand that. That is the number one piece of advice I give to anybody that wants to speedrun or start speedrunning. You have to love the game.
Mm-hmm.
Because the runs, for whatever reason, whether it's RNG, or because the game is hard, or because it's hard to do attempts, or it's hard to practice, or it takes a long time to do runs, or whatever the case is, if you don't love the game, you will get burned out so fast.
Mm-hmm.
So the number one most important thing about speedrunning is pick a game that you love. And you love Mario. You're like, I'm not going to betray Mario. I'm waiting for the Okami speedrun. I TBH honest. You know?
Really? So Okami so Mario and Okami are very special to me in different ways. Mario, I've always been fascinated by breaking the game. You know, like it just, there's so many little glitches that you can do. Okami, it's like the music is beautiful. I listen to it when I study or do work, and the artwork is incredible, and the storyline's insane, and it's so, like, if anyone hasn't played that game, I tell them immediately, like, you need to buy this game. And it's like over 40 hours your first time if you're as bad as I am. And so, like, and you'll get it 10 out of 10. I don't know if I'll ever run it just because I think the beauty of it isn't the running of it, if that makes sense.
Makes sense, yeah.
I think I would probably run other 64 games, like Flair. I really like watching her Banjo runs. I think that'd be a really fun game to speedrun. I have Banjo-Tooie, but not Kazooie, so I don't know how entertaining
Kazooie's a lot
that
of
would
fun.
be. Yeah, it seems like fun. Or I do have Ocarina of Time. That seems like a really fun. The problem is I'm picking all these games that are super popular speedrun ones, and ones I have no chance at like being even top 100.
No, I mean, listen. I mean, is your goal to have fun? Or is your goal to like set the world on fire? You know?
Fun. Yeah. there's already some pretty cool people up there, so I'll let them.
And you don't know. You could surprise yourself. You know?
That's true.
You
might see me world record holder Super Mario 64 one day.
Hey, who is it now? D whatever. Move over.
Yeah, no. But
you know, I will say though, it's like if everyone had the attitude of like, I'll never do it, then nobody would ever do it. So
that's true.
Someone had to be like, oh, I'll do it. I can do it.
That's true. If I did speedrunning like as a full-time job, then I think I would take that mentality a little more serious. But yeah, it's still a hobby for me, and I think streaming has gotten me a lot more into it than before. But yeah, I think I like to keep it as a hobby.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, maybe one day, Okami. We'll see. If I get bored enough.
Banjo-Kazooie is a fun one, and they have routes, like different routes, like for beginners and stuff like that. So,
Okay, nice.
It's like yeah, so it's like there are like super crazy like difficult tricks, but like there's also routes that don't use them. They're slower, but they're way more like accessible. It's one of the things I like about that game. I love Banjo. I love Banjo speedruns. Actually, one of the first people I didn't know her. I know her a lot better now, and I've met her a few times. But the very first time that I ever saw Falair stream, she was playing Banjo. It was like one of the first streamers I ever saw.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Like I turned on Twitch, and she was like one of the first people I saw. It was so nutty, especially because I've met her since, and we're in the same like friend sphere. You know, we're friends. I would call her my friend. Hey, Falair, we're friends, right?
She was on the podcast. Yes.
She was on the podcast not long ago, so.
Yeah, no, she was one of the first people that I watched too, but that's not saying too much for me considering I've only been on Twitch for like 4 months now.
We're gonna do this. I don't know if you've ever seen this video where it's on YouTube, but it's like they interview Billie Eilish over and over again, and they ask her the same questions every year. I'm gonna like interview you in a year, and I'm gonna make you listen to your answers. You're like, oh no, I'll never be good. Oh no, oh no, and then you're gonna be like, oh, but I'm so much better now. I'm like, yeah, you donut.
Yeah, I'm gonna come back and be like, Mario's so depressing. Oh my god! But I have an 18 PB or sub 17 or something crazy. How was I so positive?
You're going toe to toe with the Japanese runners. You know, lighting the world on fire.
Oh, that would mean I'd have to buy something else. No, I have the US version of the game still.
And this too will pass, right?
Yeah.
I have a mouse that has buttons on the side that I don't use. I don't bind them to anything, so I just started using that to push to talk. It's great for like Among Us if you play Among Us.
Okay, I played that for a whole day.
Only a day? It didn't bite you?
No, so I was addicted to it for a day, and then I had spent like 6 hours that one day playing Among Us, and then I looked at myself in the mirror, and I was like, "We're not doing this. We're not doing this, Sophie. Time to delete the game." So I didn't let myself go down that rabbit hole.
We gotta leave that little anecdote in about the Among Us. We'll leave the part where we're just talking about like push to talk. You said before we started that you had like a story about cheese.
Yes, so when I started, I mean everyone when they start streaming, it's a pretty weak setup, you know? Like as you're saying, a lot of beginner streamers don't really have all of the fancy tech and the mic and the clean layouts and all that stuff. And so I had honestly been speedrunning maybe and streaming maybe for a month. And I was getting some followers here and there, and it was fine. And I think I was at like maybe I just hit 100 followers on Twitch, and I was really proud of myself and really happy. And something that's a little different about my streams is I have a roommate, and we live in a very small apartment with the thinnest walls ever. And so she goes to bed at like grandma hours. So when I stream, she's already asleep. And so I have to whisper when I stream. So I guess you could call it Mario ASMR. But I don't like using the word ASMR because I feel like a lot of people take that into a weird context. So I call them my library streams. You're in the library. And yes. So when I was streaming, I had my Mac that would crash every time I streamed, and that call center headset that I was talking about, and like horrible quality, very new to streaming. And I was just playing one night and like whispering to the 2 people that were watching me. And then I see on my screen like cheese raid incoming or something. Or oh no, it was cheese commented in my chat, and I was just practicing bomb clip or something horribly because I think I wasn't even sub 30 at that point, and so I was playing and I was like, oh, thanks, cheese, and I was like, cheese. And like my face in the camera, you could see it. It's like I saw a ghost or something. I was like, holy shit, Cheese is watching my stream right now. And I had no idea that it was like he was streaming and he had my stream pulled up like on his screen.
Right.
And so, and I watched his VOD later. I was so excited. And in the VOD, he was like, yeah, we need more girl speedrunners in the community. And this is awesome. I don't know why she's whispering, though. So and then I was like, oh my God, I can't believe he's here. And so I started fangirling because I thought he was just, I thought he was just watching me. So like, I thought he was just like on Twitch looking at Mario players.
Chilling, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was just like, yeah, like, you're the reason why I speedrun. I started,
Aww.
Yeah, I was like, I saw you at GDQ like a long time ago. I mean, I wasn't at GDQ, but you know what I mean. Right. And then like on my screen, it just says like cheese rated with like 1,100 people.
That's
and
insane.
I was like, I felt bad. I woke my roommate up that night. I tried really hard to like stay whispering, but it was basically impossible. And
did your roommate understand?
Yes. She was really confused, but I explained it to her after. I was like, literally a world record contender / a world record holder just rated my stream, and he has like over 100,000 followers on Twitch. And she's like, oh my God, that's insane. So very understanding. I'm very thankful that she didn't kill me. So many curse words flew out of my mouth when it happened. I was like, holy shit, over and over again, because I was freaking out. And like, honestly, the only thing that could go in my mind was like, okay, Mac, please don't crash. Please don't crash. And so I was so lucky it didn't crash, and everyone was, I doubled the amount of followers that I had just in that stream. Like 100 people, over 100 people followed me.
Wow.
Yeah, it was
stream popping off.
I know. I was so shook, and all of my friends who were I had just met in the Mario community that were my moderators were like, okay, they started a Discord and we're all like on mod view, and we're like going. They were so excited, and it was incredible. I really think that moment for me really solidified my excitement for streaming and for Mario. Like I liked it so far, and it was a slow start, and I definitely was lucky. I don't think I really ever streamed to like 0 people. I would stream to like 1 or 2, like my friends that were there. But yeah, that was a whole other beast. And I remember I was like, I kept getting comments in the stream like, hey, your mic sounds a little weird. And I'm like, yeah, and I went back and watched the VOD, and it sounded like I don't even know how to explain it, but like the most crunchy audio that you've ever heard. And like I'm like every time I'm breathing, you can like hear it really loud, like a huge sound at the mic. It was horrible, but that definitely was a highlight of my streaming experience so far.
That's awesome. I have a cheese story.
Okay.
When I went to AGDQ 2019, that was my first GDQ. And I was so like, okay, like I have to have like 3 different plans in case like the plan that I'm doing doesn't work. Like I'm always super prepared like that. So I'm like, if I get there and I don't like any of the people at GDQ, I have a hotel room and I'm going to go like tour like the National Mall. It was in DC, so I'm like gonna go see the monuments and stuff, and I'm like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do, right?
That's nice backup.
I also was like, I'm only gonna go for 4 days, and that was partially because I could only get a room for 4 days. I couldn't get a room for a week. And I have a strict with events like that in particular. I get that you started speedrunning when we're not doing in-person events, but for me, I don't like not being able to leave to go somewhere where the party isn't happening. And when you room with a bunch of people at GDQ, the party is always happening. So
yeah, I've seen a little bit of that, just like videos. It seems pretty crazy.
So I remember when I first got there, I got there like on Saturday, which is day 0, and people are checking into the hotel and everything, and whatever. And I see like a minivan pull up, and Kopitz gets out, and Cheese is with him, right? So like I think like Kopitz is like grandma dropped it off, Cheese and Kopitz. And I was like, that's Cheese, oh my god. And the person I was with was like, yeah. And I was like, you're not more excited? And he goes, you're going to see him a lot. It's not that big of an event. And it's like 2,000 people or whatever, plus like just people in the hotel. But I didn't really understand. But yeah, I saw him a lot. Like I got to the point where I was like, I can't get rid of this guy. He is like a pest. So I remember he was on the same floor as me at the hotel. I would constantly bump into him in the hallway. I didn't say a word to him, because then it started to get annoying. Like we went to the same restaurants at the same time. We went to the same and there's not that many places to go. But it was like 4 days of like everywhere I went, I saw the guy.
Everywhere.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh my god! Either he thinks I'm a stalker or he's my stalker.
Ooh.
Like, yeah, right. I can't. Listen. That's called self-health, right? You gotta believe that you're worth having a stalker sometimes. No.
Oh my god.
So, and then at SGDQ it was the same thing. Like, I remember, I was like, I'm so tired of everyone in this room. I'm leaving. Who wants to go to get degenerate chicken nuggets? And I was like, well, we're all leaving. Who's leaving? So like 3 people left. So we go to this McDonald's, like, I don't know, 5 minutes away. We walk there. And it's dead as a doornail. It's like 2 a.m. It's chicken nuggets, right? And the only other person in the McDonald's is Cheese and like one other person.
Tell me you invited him to your table.
No, I did not.
Dude.
I was so annoyed. I couldn't see the forest for the trees. I didn't want a friendship making moment in this moment. Now, it's just like one of those weird things where it's like, I don't want anything to do with this guy. Like, he's just like in my space. He's in my bubble. It's just like a complete coincidence, obviously. But that's my Cheese story.
Yeah, I think especially with speedrunning as a community, there are definitely famous people within that, but I think that at the end of the day, if you go out and try and talk to them, they're not gonna act like Billie Eilish, you know?
100%. He's a very chill person.
Yeah. I remember when after the raid, I sent him like a message on Discord just thanking him, and he responded with something. I don't remember exactly what he said, but he was just super nice about it, and it was like, no problem at all. Like, I'm really excited for you, kind of thing. So I don't know. I had a really he seems like a really awesome guy, and I'm very thankful for that. But that's really funny that it felt like he was just following you around at GDQ.
Yeah, because it's like I don't know. I know like a dozen people, right? So I'm like with my friends, and I'm meeting so many people, and I had a great time. Honestly, I guess that's the missing part of the story, was I had one of the best times of my life, and I've never regretted going to a GDQ. But I felt like at those 2 events, I was like, man, this guy has he's following me around. He's kind of got like an issue.
Oh my gosh. Maybe one day the friendship will be kindled and you can laugh at this in the future.
I'm going to have him on the podcast one day and just tell him that
story.
Yeah, get him
on the pod. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. All right. Is there anything else you want to say before we start wrapping up?
I just want to say thank you so much for having me. I've never been on a podcast before. I'm really new to streaming and Twitch and speedrunning as it is, so I just feel really lucky to have gotten this opportunity to talk to you today.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Thank you for your time and for being on the podcast. It's all about the people you meet and the connections you make, right? Because the first person you watched was Falaire, and you strengthened that relationship. And then I asked Falaire, hey, tell me about some cool lady speedrunners that you know, and she recommended you. So, Aww. Yeah, absolutely. So it's just a constant positive vibe here. So we're trying to
positive vibes only.
Positive vibes only I'm gonna pop in the next librarian stream. We're gonna be rolling deep in there. Early in the, or sorry, late night. You know.
Yes.
All right. I will. I definitely want to plug your ish really quick. Hang on. I had it all pulled up and now I don't.
Oh, it's okay. Thank you.
Well, we didn't get to any of your hot takes, so we'll have to do that the next time that you come on the show. You can follow her on Twitter. That's twitter.com. Her handle is at hottakesbysoph. Soph is S-O-P as in Peter in H. And her Twitch is twitch.tv/hottakesbysoph. Her speedrun.com handle, you guessed it, it's hottakesbysoph. So
very unpredictable.
Very, very easy to say at the end of the podcast. Very easy for people to find you. I hope that you have all the success in 2021. I hope that you grow. I hope that your stream really pops off. I hope that you keep playing. I hope that you play new stuff. And I would love to check in where you are a year from now. I think that'd be a great. Well, obviously, I'm going to be catching librarian streams, so I'll check in before then. But anyway, thank you everybody for listening and for downloading and for sharing and for liking and for doing all the things that you do to help make the podcast a success. Keep doing those things because they really help. I've been CJ. Next week, another great guest. I know I say that every week. It's true every week. Check out next week for another great guest. I promise you won't be disappointed. And again, thank you so much for your time. And I hope everybody has a great rest of your night.
Thank you, guys. Woohoo!
Woo!